on food safety, yes, is certainly a topic of not only of interest but of necessity, because yes, it happens, and okay, to come back to what Antonio said, if it happens, it's not anymore a risk actually, but it's a problem, or it's a crisis, or it could be a disaster, depending on where you are. And what I would like actually to show you this morning, or to discuss with you this morning, is actually what could be done potentially in order to avoid that fraud becomes a problem, or a crisis, or a disaster. So to really act today, in order to avoid that tomorrow, that will or could be a problem for you. So we're back to the vision, and actually what I would discuss with you today about fraud investigation, in my opinion, falls into this area of prevention. It's not really a protection, because you cannot guarantee that there will be no fraud, but it's a prevention in the sense that you will certainly reduce the probability that you can or will be confronted with a fraud case in your organization, if you put the right measures in place, if you have the right actions implemented in the forefront. And this is what I would like to speak a bit about. So, yeah, questions. Fraud. What's the problem? Who has been confronted in one way or in another in his working time with fraud? Nobody? Which company you were working for, has there been case of frauds?
We keep on doing it for clients who have fidelity reality claims.
Okay.
Fidelity claim business. So I have got one client who had a claim. Basically, they were in the logistics business towards food, which was basically dealing in grains, etc. So they had a fraud which took place due to the collusion between the employees and the security guard, where different trucks were brought in and food was taken out of the warehouse, and which was discovered after a good 2 or 3 months at the time of stock taking.
Fraud in that sense would be they were stealing the products. Okay. Okay, that's one area. Now, at Nestlé, when I was at Nestlé, we have been confronted with different type of frauds. I mentioned horse meat. This was a big scandal, especially in Europe. What happened there was actually horse meat was half the price of beef meat at that time. And guess how? Through different channels, what was a horse became a beef, through these different channels. And at the end of the day, yes, what different food manufacturers processed was beef meat, but actually it wasn't beef, or it was not fully 100% beef. Now, that had nothing to do with a food safety issue. Nothing. It was actually just a wrong labeling. Yes, it was a problem, but it was wrong label. Right?
Because
Because
it was
cheating, right? It's cheating, not label.
authenticity issue.
now,
Yeah.
then clearly, the producer, from a producer's perspective, it was wrong label. They just said they said beef, and they should have said can contain horse. Right? That's if that was on the label, that would have been fine. Right? Now, from the earlier stage in the supply chain, I fully agree. That was about money, about cheating, because that was why it was done. Right?
See, but the thing is, it was unknowingly passed on to the next.
Yeah.
That's the point. Right? So that's why I say from a food producer, right, there was nothing intentional. Right? They didn't actually know that they processed horse. Right? But yes, somewhere in the supply chain, codes were exchanged. So somewhere in the supply chain, people knew what they were doing, and they were cheating, right? Clearly. Right? But yeah, I will come back to the different problems which you could be facing when we talk about fraud. Because actually, yes, fraud is not fraud. Right? You could have financial aspects, but now, all in all, there will always normally be a kind of implication there, financial implication, but there are completely different aspects of fraud. Then the problem is then also, okay, how much of a problem is it? And for Nestlé, for example, the horse meat scandal was an issue because actually the CEO stated, we have no problem, which is a good statement. The problem was 2 days later, Nestlé, or Bitoni, which belongs to Nestlé, had to recall 2 products because they had horse meat in it. It was marginal product. But you see, on one hand, you have the CEO who states we have no problem, we have everything under control. 2 days later, we have to recall 2 products. That's the problem. So it's not a financial problem, it's a reputation problem. But actually, if we would, or if the CEO would have waited 1 day, he would have known that we had a problem. Right? Because they were still doing the analysis, and it took so long to get the results. But he was forced to make a statement.
Because it can never happen in Nestlé.
And then again, how large is the problem? If you deal only with meat, obviously the problem has a completely other extent. Even so, you might not at all have horse meat in your products, because it touches your entire production. For Nestlé, I would say it was somewhere a side effect, because meat is by far not the main product category which is processed at Nestlé. So it had on the P&L of Nestlé, you couldn't see anything. On the P&L of other companies, you certainly have seen a lot of effects. Even so, they might not at all have had a problem. And as I said, it was never a food safety issue. It was really about ethics, about people, especially in UK, who do not eat horse meat. But you go to France, and everybody eats horse meat. Now I say everybody, but a lot of persons eat horse meat. It's fully normal. Right? So it's just a little bit of water separates these two cultures, but it's a completely different. It's really a culture approach, right? Ethics, right? And fraud. So fraud is not fraud, right? And fraud can impact you, even so you are not at all connected directly with the problem. So you have to be aware of these points. And that's why I think everybody needs to have an interest in A, what's happened in the world, and B, what do you do in your area of responsibility to manage, to control that. And then the question is, okay, especially how can you protect the impact on your brand? Going back to what I said yesterday, customers' trust. This is the most important asset you have. Right? If you sell products in the FMCG area. Right? If you lose that trust, it's very difficult and very costly to regain that. Okay? Now, the question is, what type of solution do you have today? Are they on the market today? And I will talk about 1.5 solution. Right? One is Inscatec. Right? Actually, to be true with you, it's a partner of my company in the US. And I will show you actually what they are promoting in that area as an idea of activities. And actually, I will, as part of Inscatec, go also show you what startup company is today doing in the